Back here on the Locked On Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers, John Butchko of Locked On Jets. All right, John, let's talk about some more specific matchups in this game. And I can't help but wonder where you think Davante Adams will be used in this offense, if he'll be ready right away. I keep seeing, because I keep posting it too, the picture of the wrestler who's in the wheelchair with the fake leg, and then all of a sudden the blanket comes off and the leg is obviously fake, and that's in a cast. Are you expecting something like that for Davante Adams, where he's ready to go Sunday night, no questions asked?
By all accounts, it sounds like he's playing. Jeff Ulbrich, the Jets interim head coach, said he's going to be in the lineup. So, yeah, it's amazing the healing power. Ironic how suddenly that hamstring injury is healthy now. I think he'll be ready to play now. He has missed time, so we can speculate about how severe the hamstring injury was. It's been a couple weeks since he's played, so I think there's a question of how many snaps he'll get. I think he'll be able to get into the lineup pretty quickly, because even though it's a new system. And even though Nathaniel Hackett's not the offensive coordinator anymore, he was demoted. This is a system that Nathaniel Hackett installed. They use the terminology Nathaniel Hackett uses, which is the system that Adams was part of in Green Bay. So I expect it. I don't think there are going to be any issues, getting him into the lineup. The question is how many snaps he'll go. He'll definitely play though, and I think he'll be Rodgers' look. I think when he's in there, he's going to be the guy Rodgers looks to.
The Steelers have been platooning against number one wide receivers a lot this year, because they're not trying to have Joey Porter travel all the time. They love for him to match up with certain guys, but they have largely just been like, hey, you know what? We're going to come out in our zone defense. We're going to attack. We're going to be aggressive. And it's worked for the most part. But I do think the Steelers need to be mindful of when and where Davante Adams is inserted into this offense, because you haven't seen it with him in it and with Aaron Rodgers. And that's just a unique challenge the Steelers are going to have to face in this game.
Yeah, as I mentioned, one of the issues with the Jets offense is that Rodgers is looking to get the ball out quickly. And maybe that's, in some ways, that's not an issue. Rodgers can make pre-snap reads better than any quarterback in the league.
Right.
So if he sees spots on you want to get it out. It is a bit of an issue because they've struggled to throw the ball down the field and make big plays in the passing game. But if you're going to play this style, you need guys who are quick separators. And prior to this trade, Garrett Wilson was the only Jets receiver who you could really count on to win at the line of scrimmage and get quick separation. Not really Allen Lazard's game, not really Mike Williams' game. Davante Adams is well known for his ability to win off the line of scrimmage. And
yes,
Rodgers knows I don't think there's gonna be much of an issue. I know they haven't played together in like 3 years, but I imagine it'll come back to them pretty quickly, where Rodgers will know exactly where he's going. Rodgers will trust him to win his matchups. So I do think Rodgers is gonna look his way quite a bit in this game.
I think it would certainly behoove getting the superstar the ball in that situation. I want to ask you about this interior offensive line, or defensive front, mixing up my talking points here for the Jets, and how their run defense has worked this year. Because last week the Steelers rushing offense took off. Najee Harris averaged over 7 yards per carry, and they had some success there. But is this a defense that you don't lose any sleep over stopping the run, or do you think that's also a problem that you think could rear its ugly head?
It's a huge problem. If you watch Monday Night Football, the Jets allowed the Bills to go down the play on the first drive. 8 plays, 7 of them were runs. Bills averaged about 6 yards per run on that series. They ran for 149 yards in the game. It's been an issue since week 1 when the Jets got chewed up by Jordan Mason in San Francisco. There have been moments where they've stopped the run okay. The second half against Tennessee in week 2, they did well. They did well against the Patriots. Week 3, the first half of week 4 against Denver, they did pretty well, but they've been very inconsistent. I mean, I think the New England game is the only game where they played a full 60 minutes stopping the run. It's been an issue. The interior defensive line has not been good for the Jets. As I said, Quinnen Williams has been a star, who was a first-team All-Pro 2 years ago, Pro Bowler last year. I've been making excuses for him. I've been saying on Locked On Jets, you know what, guys, Quinnen is going to figure it out. We're 6 weeks in, and it's not just that he's underperforming. I hate to say he's been objectively bad this year. I don't know what the reason is. Like, you watch him, he's getting pushed around. Javon Kinlaw, who they signed from San Francisco, he's actually been decent as a pass rusher, but I mean, he just gets annihilated in the run game. Leki Fatu, a guy they signed from Arizona, he was supposed to be the big run stopping nose tackle. He started the season on IR, was activated last week. He wasn't the solution. And we talked about Will McDonald earlier, 7 sacks. part of the issue with the Jets right now is that McDonald, with Reddick holding out, McDonald's really the only defensive end you can count on to generate a pass rush. So he's got to play a lot, but he's playing at like 235, 240. He can't hold up against the run. And that's one of the things that you kind of, it's one of the trade-offs is that in order to get that pass rushing productivity from McDonald, you're living with him not holding up against the run and him not being able to set the edge.
I think that's part of the challenge there for sure. I look at which team can establish their style of play sooner rather than later and get into the groove of things. I think the Steelers, they have a lot of changes they're still making. They're still figuring things out, but I think they're getting closer and closer to seeing what their final product will be when they figure it all out and have their offense ready to go. And this will be a big test. Like you said, yeah, they have their defense deficiencies on defense with the Jets, but at the same time, this is a talented defense that's gonna bring it. I think it's gonna be a really good matchup. I tend, John, I was asked by someone else this today. I haven't made my official prediction. I don't do that until Friday normally, but I tend to think this is going to be a very close contest in the low 20s of scoring, if that.
Last year, Robert Saleh, when he was the Jets head coach, made a statement that was mocked before the Jets Sunday night game in Las Vegas. He said, This game's a race to 20. And a lot of Jets fans were frustrated with Saleh because that kind of encapsulated his view that like offense was something to stay out of the way. And we could go into a lot of details on that. But this feels like a race to 20, this one to me.